If you love short, scary stories, get ready for a chilling tale of friendship that never dies. Friends Forever Dolls. It was supposed to be a quiet evening at home. My parents were out of town, and I was glad for the solitude. After everything that had happened with my best friend Claire, the silence was almost a relief. We hadn't spoken in weeks, ever since that last argument. I'd just settled on the couch, ready to binge-watch a show, trying to push the whole thing from my mind when the doorbell rang. It was odd. No one ever visited this late, and especially not unannounced. For a moment, I wondered if it could be her, but that didn't make sense. Not after what was said. When I opened the door, no one was there. But on the doorstep was a small brown box. No address, no note, just a plain box. Curiosity piqued. I brought it inside and carefully unwrapped it, revealing a small, old dollhouse. It looked antique, beautifully detailed with tiny rooms and furniture, like a miniature replica of a real home. Inside the dollhouse sat a tiny doll, only a few inches high, wearing a white dress. Her face was delicately painted, almost too lifelike. As I stared at it, a strange unease crept over me. The doll seemed to be watching me, its tiny eyes following my every move. I shrugged it off, telling myself it was just a toy, nothing to be scared of. But the longer I sat there, the more the unease grew. The house was too quiet, the shadows too long. I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. I tried to distract myself, but my eyes kept drifting back to the dollhouse. Every time I looked, it felt like the doll's position had shifted, as if it had moved when I wasn't looking. By the time I decided to head to bed, my nerves were on edge. I turned off the lights and went upstairs, but sleep was elusive. Every creak of the house made me jump. It was probably just the wind, or the house settling, but it felt like something more. Around 3 a.m., I heard it again. A soft, creaking sound, like wood bending under weight. My heart pounded as I realized it was coming from downstairs. I didn't want to go look, but I had to know what was happening. Grabbing my phone, I cautiously made my way downstairs. The dollhouse was still on the coffee table, but something was different. The tiny lights inside the house were flickering, casting eerie shadows. The doll was no longer in the living room where I'd last seen it. Instead, it was now in the tiny kitchen, its eyes fixed on me. I felt a chill run down my spine.
That's impossible.
I muttered under my breath, but there it was, in a different room, as if it had walked there. Panic set in. I wanted to leave, but something kept me rooted to the spot. And then, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. There were 2 more dolls inside the house now, standing next to the first one.
They weren't here before.
I barely spoke aloud. Their tiny faces were turned toward me, their painted eyes full of malice. I backed away slowly, my breath quickening. I needed to get out of the house, away from whatever this was. I grabbed my keys and ran for the door, but as I reached for the handle, I heard a whisper soft, chilling and unmistakable.
Psst, don't go.
I froze, my heart hammering in my chest. The voice was coming from the dollhouse. I turned slowly, dread filling every part of me. The dolls were now at the edge of the dollhouse, as if they were about to step out. My stomach dropped, and I felt frozen in place. I blinked, hoping I was seeing things, but no, it was real. The 3 dolls, their painted eyes gleaming in the flickering light, stood there, poised like they were about to cross into my world. Suddenly, one of the dolls moved. A slow, deliberate step forward, It placed its tiny foot on the edge of the dollhouse, and I swear I could hear the faint sound of its foot touching the wooden table. A sudden coldness swept through the room, the air thickening around me, suffocating and heavy. I stepped back, my throat tightening.
This isn't real. It can't be.
I whispered to myself, trying to break the spell of fear. But the dolls kept moving. The second one stepped forward next, its tiny hands gripping the edge of the dollhouse as it hoisted itself out. My breath caught in my chest as I saw it take its first step onto the coffee table. I stumbled back, knocking into a chair, but couldn't tear my eyes away. The dolls were coming, crossing into my world. The smallest of them led the others, its painted eyes now dark and glassy, filled with malevolence. The other two followed, their movements unnaturally smooth, like puppets on invisible strings.
Join us.
The words sent ice through my veins. My legs felt like lead as I tried to move, but it was as if the house itself didn't want me to leave. The dolls were now halfway across the coffee table. One of them, the tallest, reached out a hand towards me. I could feel a chill radiating from it, as if its touch would freeze me solid. I backed up until my heels hit the wall behind me, my breath coming in short, ragged gasps.
Stay away.
I pleaded, my voice shaking, but the dolls continued to advance. The smallest one, the one with the blonde hair, took another step, its head tilting to the side as if studying me, deciding what to do next. I felt trapped, cornered, as a strange pressure built around me. I could feel it. They wanted me. They were pulling me into their world, and I had no idea how to stop it.
We can be friends.
The voice whispered again, this time louder, and with it came a gust of cold air that blew through the room, rustling the papers on the table and making the hair on the back of my neck stand on end. My body moved on its own, my feet slowly dragging forward as if I were being lured toward them, like a sailor to a siren's call. The dolls were inches away now, their hands outstretched, their faces twisting into grotesque smiles. Just as one of them reached for my leg, I stumbled back, knocking over the lamp on the table. The crash broke the trance, and for a brief second, the room seemed to snap back to normal. The house was quiet, the dollhouse sitting innocently on the table, but the dread twisting in my chest wouldn't leave. Trembling, I placed the dollhouse in the brown box it came in. My heart pounded as I rushed to the door, gripping the box like it might explode. Outside, the cold night air stung as I hurried to my car. There was an abandoned lot at the edge of town, forgotten and empty, perfect to leave this cursed thing behind. The drive felt endless, my eyes darting to the package every few seconds. The streets were eerily quiet. I reached the lot, yanked the package from the car, and jogged into the overgrown weeds. I placed the box down, standing for a moment as my heart thundered in my chest. It looked harmless now, but I knew better. Without a second glance, I sprinted back to the car and sped home, feeling lighter with each mile I put between me and it. Relief washed over me as I pulled into my driveway, but it vanished the moment I saw it. The brown package was sitting on my doorstep. My stomach churned. Before I could comprehend the terror, I heard a soft, muffled voice from inside the package.
Don't recognize me. It's Claire. We can be together now. Come join us.
Ensure your horror fix. Subscribe now, hit that bell to stay notified of new terror-filled releases.